right. When I was 19, my favorite movie was Terminator, Rise of the Machines. Actually, not Rise of the Machines, that's one of the sequels. And when I was dating my current wife, I made her watch it. To now, I just cringe at the fact I made her watch Terminator. And so, yeah, watch out for AI. All right, this is the real story with Adam and Sherry. I'm Adam Hamalian,
And I'm Sherry Hutchens.
and this is where two broker associates talk about all things real estate. Hey, Sherry.
Hey, Adam.
Um, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Oh, good.
There's a lot going on.
There is for the middle of summer, which often can be a slow time.
hmm
Boy, it seems like our internal business is really cooking. I'm not sure the market is, but for us, we have job security for at least the short term.
Real estate is local, and what is happening in one area is not happening in another. They're two entirely different things. And people who watch the news, 6 o'clock, and the national reporters saying, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. You need to go out and check your own sky because
Yeah,
it might not be falling.
yeah. Well, I
So
think most of our listeners are local, though we got a message through social media, somebody in Tennessee who watched one of our episodes and asked some questions about that.
I know, I love that.
Yeah, she is looking to rehab a 100 plus year old farmhouse, and she searched podcasts on century old buildings and came across the Rock Ridge house that we rehabbed over the last year and sold in February. And so she reached out to ask some questions about what we did. It was very fun to interact with.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. We're going to be famous.
Almost famous.
Okay, maybe not.
Um, it's interesting. We just touching base on podcasts for a little bit longer. The vast majority, like 99% of our audience is in the United States, and
Mhm.
of that, like 90% is in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
But we have a few people that are pinging in from just obscure places. So Ukraine, Russia, I assume those are probably bots.
Japan, Azerbaijan,
Yeah,
bizarre
Ghana.
places, Ghana. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello to all our fans in Ghana.
Mr. and Mrs. America and all around the world. The
Exactly.
ships at sea. No, whatever that is. I'm
It
way
is.
too young to know that. So, um, but it
uh,
is interesting how just something like a podcast as a tool for us just to kind of espouse our wisdom, but also hopefully gain followers and potentially clients. The kinds of tools we have available to us as we
Yeah.
go forward. And,
Yeah.
so I think we're going to talk about that today. But before we jump in too much to the tech, anything else about the local market important to point out? It seems like maybe just the same as it's been.
Same as. We've got two pending. We're getting ready to hopefully close them soon. And we're working on getting three ready for market, coming on the market over Labor Day, right
Yeah.
after Labor Day. So yeah, we got plenty to do.
Yeah. And locally, our schools are getting ready to start here in the next week or so. I think that this week, some kids are
It's
finding out
bizarre.
their class schedules for some of the high schools and then show up next week for walkthroughs in the beginning of class. It's hard to believe. I mean, the beginning of August. I mean, when I was a kid, it was like after Labor Day. We'd start at, we'd go start on Tuesday.
We went back to Tuesday after Labor Day. I do not understand why kids are going back to school in August when it's still summertime.
Yeah, I feel like there should be like a law that says school needs to be done Friday before Memorial Day and not start till Tuesday after Labor Day.
In case anybody asks us, because we have
Exactly.
opinions.
And I want to know when to wear white because you can't wear white back to school after Labor Day. And it's weird to think that you could wear white to high school. I'm joking, of course. I never had white pants, but actually that's not true. I did have some white pants that I used when I was the high school mascot for my high school. That was part of think male cheerleader. So I had white pants for that.
Okay, that might be a whole different podcast.
Maybe. Yeah.
My time spent as a cheerleader with
Uh, no, I was the
a high school
the
mascot.
mascot, the Hornet. imagine what adjective went with hornet. And then imagine the fact that I got to ride to all the basketball games with all the cheerleaders.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Sitting in the back of the station wagon listening to the girls talk as if you weren't there.
They forgot. Oh, I've told you the story. Yeah.
I can only imagine.
Uh-huh.
A hornet. Oh my.
Yeah, there you go. Um,
That's funny.
not to be confused with the Berkeley Yellow Jackets. They were different. But we had the same colors as Antioch and the same initials, so that was always confusing, yellow and black or gold and
Mhm.
black.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
anyway, that's all very interesting low tech or not so interesting low tech. Let's talk about
Yeah.
what we're going to talk about. So
All
I talked
right.
about Rise of the Machines and AI and the bots taking over and Arnold Schwarzenegger traveling back in time as a
Oh, right. Terminator.
yeah. And how is AI going to take over the world? That's currently the big shiny bauble that everybody's paying attention to. Have you tried using ChatGPT or Gemini or one of the other AI
Ab
platforms?
Absolutely. I love new technology and I love playing around with things like Chat GPT. Yeah. I mean, I come from the era where, we were using stone tablets and, TP smoke signals and things like that. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah, yeah, we've come a long way, baby.
So the telegraph was really that was like your first major thing.
Pretty much. It feels like it.
You're back
No, I
then.
mean, I think I've told you the story about when I started at UCB. I had a digital camera and I had an email address, and the other agents were like, "Wow, you have an email address?"
Yeah. Right. Things that they take in common that or take for granted that really have evolved in our lifetime. I mean, the internet and email,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
but those are kind of old hat. I don't think we need to dwell on those things.
No, we
Although
do
it
not.
seems like every training that we go to, though it's less and less, the first 10 minutes is helping a certain segment of the um, attendees on how to log in with their secure email address so they can log into whatever the tool is.
Uh-huh. No
I actually
comment.
think Google's made it easier, like partially with the two-step process. But all you have to do is remember your Google password if you've got everything stored
And you're
there.
in.
Yeah, and two-factor authentication. So whether you're using facial recognition or your fingerprint, or getting texted a six-digit code to put that in, there's
Yep.
actually so many ways to gain access to these tools aside from having to remember the long tail passwords that you have.
Yes, exactly. So,
All right, so let's talk about AI.
all
How
right.
have you used it that you really thought was helpful, and then maybe what are some ways you think it's being oversold currently?
Well, let's start with oversold. I don't think AI is going to take over our jobs anytime soon. This is a people business. AI is not going to go out and show people houses. It's not going to walk through a house with a client and, tell them the pros and cons about a house. And I mean, I'm just not worried about AI taking my job. I think AI is going to make my job easier. One of the things we sometimes say about clients is that some of them don't have a lot of ability to imagine a house in a different way than what it's being presented. And that's for both buyers and sellers. And we recently had a situation where we had a client who was going to live in the house while we were trying to sell it. That's very rare nowadays, at least in our market. Almost everybody moves out, either out of the state or into their next home. And we sell vacant homes that we have then gone in and staged. But this family did not have the ability to move out first. So we had them declutter and simplify, but it still did not look like what most houses on the market look like now. And I'm going to use the phrase that the Pottery Barn look. And everybody knows what that means, right?
Yep, yep.
And this was definitely not Pottery Barn. It was a very high-end house. She had very traditional furnishings. The wall colors were not gray or white, which is what we expect to see in homes that are being marketed. And we had a difficult time trying to get people in to take a look at it. And so, in a conversation after the house was taken off the market, where we sat down with the sellers and reevaluated whether or not they were going to try to sell later and what we might do to help them have a better experience. We use Chat GPT to reimagine what that house might look like. And so we took pictures from the very traditional decor and said to Chat GPT, um, take out the client's old-fashioned furnishings and put something more modern and Pottery Barn-like in. Take down the curtains that are covering these gorgeous floor-to-ceiling windows with a view and just show us the windows. Paint the walls from peachy color to, I think I gave them Sherwin-Williams alabaster. I specified a color to
Oh, wow.
ChatGPT. Take out the gorgeous Persian rug and put in something that is more neutral. And we ended up with a house that, or with a room, the living room that was exactly the same living room as what we photographed from market, that had been transformed into something that was easy to say to the client, this is kind of the look that we're going for.
Yeah, I think that what was really fascinating was so it incorporated all of your long tail instructions,
Mhm.
but it did make a couple changes. Like it took out a window, which of course we weren't going to do, and so AI doesn't always. I don't want to say get it right, but it was overwhelmingly a success of saying, here's the kind of look that could be there,
Yes.
and help the client understand, like, well, let's go look at other houses on the market and then compare your current
Hmm.
decoration, which was not inexpensive and it was beautiful, but just was attractive to a very small segment of buyers as opposed to, and our plan is we want to cast the net as wide as possible because you don't know who's going to be the most interested and maybe who's going to pay more money. And so you try and attract as many buyers as possible. And that your work on those on that image really, I think, paid off and helped our client get an idea of what it could look like. Because for them, when they think beautiful, they think about what they have.
That's right. And it is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous home, and it's exactly what they wanted.
And
And
not inexpensive. I
oh
mean,
gosh, no.
expensive decorations.
No,
Yeah.
she has silk coverings on her chairs. It is a very, very expensive decor,
Yeah.
but it's not what buyers expect to see when
Yeah.
they walk into a house. And not only do buyers sometimes have trouble imagining things, but when they're paying 7% interest rate, they want to move in and unpack and live there. They don't want to move in, fix up the house to be what they want it to be. In other words, spend more money and then live there.
Yeah. Do so with that image that you got, would you use that for marketing? Like, would you put that out in the public on MLS, or was that really just for our client?
That really was just for our client to try to give them some idea what we were shooting for when if we go back on the market. But you can use Chat GPT or artificial AI to stage homes, to virtually stage homes. I don't know if that's how companies who do virtual staging do it, but I suspect it might be.
Yeah,
Because I think that I could virtually stage a room with AI based on what I learned about playing with, the house that we just talked about.
yeah. Well, I think that it's a tremendous tool for doing that. I think when you start marketing to the public, it comes with a lot of disclaimers.
Mhm.
Um, like what I said, it actually took out a window out of that room, which would be misleading if we were to actually market that. And then we had a colleague do it in one of her houses, and the AI put in an extra stairwell, so that it looked like there was dual stairwells right next to each other in this one photo. So that it works to a certain extent, and you can go back and refine it. But I think that there's some limitations on um, when you're marketing it, truth and advertising dangers about it. Like one of the things that there's a local photography company that regularly will Photoshop into their photos a fire in the fireplace because
Yeah.
it makes the room look warmer and um, more inviting. But
Yeah.
it's a huge no-no.
Well, we had a situation where a seller got caught doing that, and it cost them about $5,000 in a credit for misleading our buyer by indicating that there could be a fire in the fireplace when the fireplace was decorative only.
Well, and yeah, and for the record, it was the agent, not the seller.
It
The
was
agent
the
was the one who
agent.
paid. Well, the agent was the one who hired the photographer and paid for it, and then
Yeah,
didn't check that. I mean, that fireplace didn't even have a chimney. It was just. I mean, it was just. It wasn't just
just a
like, hey,
mantle.
yeah. It was. It wasn't just like it was a fireplace and the chimney wasn't functional because that could happen too.
Yeah.
Um, so I saw one
And
the other day, a property out in Alhambra Valley, and it had an outdoor fire pit with a fire in it. And I thought, I don't, it almost felt irresponsible in this current environment for wildfires to show this blazing fire underneath. The fire pit was underneath of an oak tree. It wasn't like in the open. It was like anyway.
oh, heavens. When I first got into the business, I came from an advertising background and I eh, did not do this for a living, but I worked in an industry where people would go in and retouch photography for advertising. And I knew how to go in and kind of take out a power line if I didn't think that it looked great. And my broker one day said, "Oh, no, you can't do that. That's misleading. That's
Yeah.
false advertising." It's allowed in magazine and print advertising, but not allowed in real estate.
No, can't do any
So,
of that.
yeah, I do.
There's occasionally I'll see photographers do things that are hard to like. Right now, it's very popular to put really rich colors in a photo to make it look like it's at sunset and that golden
Yeah,
hour kind of moment.
yeah.
Um, and there's part of me like, I don't, that's not real. And are we pushing the boundaries with that?
Oh,
And
we are pushing the boundaries with that.
yeah, but it's not like taking out something physically that exists, right? It's
Yeah,
an image that might temporarily exist every night or in the
yeah,
right sunlight.
yeah.
Um, what are so one of the ways that I use AI, and I use it gingerly here. Gingerly is not the right word, but carefully,
Hmm.
is I'll use it for research.
Hmm.
We always write our own blog post. I'm usually the
Hmm.
one that's writing it. Um, but for me, it's a ongoing learning process to stay up to date on current terms. And so, could we buy a canned newsletter that somebody else wrote, let alone AI? Absolutely. We could drop it in and it would have helpful information for our clients. I mean, how many articles do you need to read about fall maintenance? They're not all, there's only so many
Right.
things that are going to show up on that.
Yep.
But I like to write it because for me it's a learning process.
Hmm.
To by typing it out, it really locks it into my brain, whatever the topic du jour is.
Right.
But AI is a great way to go and have it do the bird dogging research for you. So you could have ChatGPT go look at the Cal Fire website and say, "Can you bring me the top 5 things that they say about protecting your house?"
Yeah.
So it'll go look, bring it back, and formulate it, and then I can read those things and then go back to the original source because it's like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what else it said there,
Hmm.
and do the research and then write my article, um, and write it in my own voice. And the amazing thing about AI is that AI can write in your voice. You give it enough of your samples, it'll do it for you.
Or any voice,
Yeah,
Write this newsletter in the style of Mark Twain. You'll
yeah.
get a Twain newsletter.
Ooh, maybe we should start doing that.
You know what? I think you need to tell the story about turning us into Muppets
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I
because
don't
this is
remember.
amazing.
I don't remember why I did it, but we had a photo. I forget where it was from. Did we just do a photo for that day? Um,
I
and
think so.
yeah, and so it was during my blue shirt campaign. Those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, go look for my social media. You'll see I wore a blue shirt every day of May this year, different blue shirt. So it was during that month,
Yeah, not the same one.
and I was trying to create an image for something, and I said, "All right, take this image and turn us into yeah,
Headshot of us
headset. Yeah, we're
side
standing
by
next to
side.
each other. Yeah, side by side. Turn us into Muppets." And it takes a little while for it to generate the image, but it generated an image of us, and then I don't know whether because I was logged in, whether it went and did research on me or us from our images, it went and found the name of this podcast, The Real Story. And so in the background of our headshot is the real story,
Like a marquee.
a marquee, yeah, of the real story. It was so wild.
That's the fun part of AI.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's going to be a tool that will come in very handy for us moving forward. I think it needs to be policed. I think, you just can't use it for absolutely everything. You need to have some controls around it. But I pay for the slightly upgraded version. I think
Yep.
it's $20 a month. And that way, for example, the window that they took out or that AI took out on that image, I could have continued and said, put the window back in. It allows you to make changes, multiple changes to the image. So anyway,
Yeah. There's
what?
a couple ways that I would not use it. Like, I don't think I would use it to write marketing material for a listing. I
No.
might use it as a basis point, but the danger of violating either fair housing rules
Mhm.
or truth in advertising is too great. I mean, you hear about the stories about lawyers writing legal briefs with it, and then it turned out that
Yeah.
they were bad. I mean,
Yeah.
this is where you're not serving your client or the public well by not self-policing about what kind of content you're putting out there because it's important. I mean, people are putting, hundreds of thousand, $1 million into these houses that they
Yeah.
deserve, even though they have the right to do their full investigation and find out that maybe something wasn't as originally advertised, but you should advertise it correctly to begin with.
That's why they hire us.
Exactly. Yeah. Um,
What other tools do you use? I mean, I think, didn't you have a presentation this morning at the Rossmore marketing meeting?
yes. So there's a new service that our MLS board is providing called CubiCasa, and it does floor plans, and it's super easy to use. You do a short, about 5 minute walkthrough of a property where you record the wall floor joint all the way around the floor, the unit,
With
the
your
house.
iPhone, with your
Yeah,
phone.
and with my phone, and then you upload it, and within 24 hours it spits back to you a black line drawing, which is fairly accurate. You can have it with dimensions. I'm not going to comment on the accuracy of the dimensions because I haven't verified it, but they're making some claims about that, which are pretty substantial to the point that they're advertising their product to appraisers,
Mhm.
in which case they have to meet some very stringent standards on measuring techniques.
Not sure they're quite there yet, but they will.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and so that was pretty fun to kind of show off that to the clients in Rossmore,
Mhm.
or colleagues in
Yeah.
Rossmore.
Yep.
We do floor plans with a floor plan artist who I think we're still going to use primarily, maybe at lower
Mhm.
price points. We'll use this free product,
Mhm. Or
but
for rentals. It'd be
yeah.
great for rentals where there's no money, just, there's not $300 or $400 to spend on a custom floor plan by shout out to Joe. Thank you, Joe.
Yes, yeah. He's probably listening. So, um,
But
uh,
yeah, I mean, I helped you put the PowerPoint together for your presentation this morning, and I was amazed at how easy. I sat through the webinar. I was probably multitasking and not paying that much attention because I knew you were going to handle it, and I would never have to do it. But it's so easy, and it's kind of amazing that the technology allows you to do this by walking around with your phone.
yeah. So literally, what it takes is you turn the lights on and you open all the interior doors, and you
Mhm,
walk around recording every wall. Like I said, about 5 minutes, and then
mhm,
you press upload.
mhm.
24 hours later, you get the sometimes it's less than 24, and you get the document. That's it. My time was no more than 10 minutes total.
Yeah, yeah, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
Do you think that is AI? I mean,
Oh,
how?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's because it's making interpretations about what rooms are what rooms. It
Mhm.
knows that bedrooms are bedrooms and bathrooms are bathrooms,
Yeah,
and even so, like the unit that I use as a demonstration for this morning had a screened in porch, and it identified it as a screened in porch.
yeah,
So
that's incredible.
yeah. So, what are some other tech things that you think more recently have revolutionized our business?
Well, I think one thing that just drastically changed the way things were done and allowed us to have faster transactions is DocuSign, electronic signing.
Yeah, we don't have to physically be in the same space as clients. And that's good for not just, the absentee owner that's away, or the owner who's traveling, or a seller or buyer who's traveling.
Mhm.
But even for your local ones, like, you don't have to drive over to someone's house, interrupt their dinner, say, "Hey, I need you to
Yeah.
sign this," so that we can respond. Um,
There were many nights where we had a counter offer happening at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and there was no DocuSign. You got in the car and drove over to the client's house, or you met at the office so that you could sign something, wet signatures. And I mean, what we gave up with that was the face to face and the
yeah.
sit down in the conference room and going through all the disclosures page by page, in lieu of DocuSign. And I still believe that we owe it to clients to go through those documents and explain everything they're signing. So we still do that. And then once we've been through it, we put everything into DocuSign and sign it electronically. It's just easier to keep track of it that
Well,
way.
that kind of leads into the another one of the tech tools really post pandemic is Zoom, and that
Yeah.
Zoom has been this amazing tool because we can, like you've got clients with young children, for instance, and they had
Yeah.
to go to bed at 8 o'clock. They can't
Yeah.
come to the office, and obviously we could go to their house, but by Zooming, they can have the document right up on the screen in front of them as we do a screen share.
Yeah.
And here's where this is what it says, and highlight it, and they can see it. And then once we've done that with them over Zoom, then we'll send it over as a DocuSign and have them sign it. But that prior to Zoom, you were kind of like, shall we meet and we can go over it together? And then there's other clients that, I'll just read it over. And we were kind of forced to trust that they read it over. And
Yeah.
best practices would, push us to want a little bit more than that. But your client, I don't say the client's always right, but if they're telling you that they read it, you're just believing it. And that, of course, that's fine. We believe our clients, but later on, when there's a problem, they say, I didn't understand that. And if you're standing in front of a judge, you're going to say, he told me he read it. It's like, well, your job as the
Yeah.
fiduciary, as the agent, was to make sure they had read it, and we could still be held accountable. So DocuSign, Zoom.
You
Uh,
know, something happened during the shelter in place, the lockdown in 2020 that you and I don't think anybody had ever really experienced before. And that was we had a client in Texas who was relocating to the Bay Area to work for a hospital here. I think she's a breast cancer physician and researcher, highly regarded. But she couldn't leave Texas to come here to look for her next home because, it was hard to travel during the lockdown. And once she got home, she would have had to go into quarantine for, I think, 3 weeks, and her job just did not allow her to do
yeah.
that. So with Zoom, we started showing her houses, her and her husband, and we would walk through the house and they would be on the other end. And we sold her a house sight unseen. And she did not see it until they finally packed up and moved here. I met them at the house. I'm not sure where you were. Maybe you were there, and said, "Oh, hi, I'm Sherry. Here are your keys."
We had another client who also bought sight unseen.
Yeah.
But I would say that the one you were describing, her first initial reaction when she saw it in person was not
I,
overwhelmingly positive.
I was convinced she did not like the house.
I
She
think she
owned
had
it.
doubts in that moment. I think
Yeah.
she absolutely had doubts.
Yeah.
But within the year after moving in, she was very happy.
Yeah, they've
Lots of
since
different
made that
reasons.
house their own, and they got a heck of a buy on it,
Yeah.
which I think helped them love it even more. But
Yeah.
what a leap of faith for them, and also for us not being afraid of technology and saying, yeah, we can do this. Yeah,
Yep.
we can Zoom you through the house. Yes,
Yep.
we can have you DocuSign your documents. No problem. You cannot be afraid of technology in this business, or you will get aged out.
Yep.
You will, I mean, you just will have to go and do something else.
What are you saying about my age? Is it my gray hair? Is that am I so DocuSign is good for like 98% of what
Yeah,
we do. There are still a few places where wet signatures are required, which is why there's a notary who will meet clients anywhere to do signing. So
yeah,
DocuSign does most of the work. Um,
that's going to change too.
yeah, maybe.
There will be electronic notaries. I think
That
there are for some businesses, not for ours yet.
Yeah. The Okay, another of the tools that tech tools that I think has revolutionized our market is well, there's a couple different platforms, but the one that we use primarily is called Homelight, formerly known as disclosures.io. And what this, amongst other things that Homelight does, is that they provide a platform for listing agents and sellers to upload all of their required disclosures and any other disclosures that they want buyers to see. So let's go back old school, pre-internet. How did we do the disclosures?
We made Xerox copies of them, and we would clip them together with a giant clip, and we would put a cover page on it that said, "Here are the documents that are attached to this disclosure packet." And as agents requested them, we would either deliver them or leave them at the front desk for them to come and pick up. And sometimes they were this high, especially if there were HOA documents in them.
We killed a lot of trees,
We
didn't
killed a lot of trees.
we?
Yeah.
And so there's a couple downsides to the way we did it. One was this the pure volume, the kind of just the time crunch of making the photocopies, having to drive to another office and pick it up, especially for out of the area listing agents and things like that. But then also, if there was a form that needed to be amended or added to, um, keeping track of, all right, who picked this up?
Yeah.
Who has
Which
this?
version do you have?
Which version do you have?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so having to do a lot of document management was just a nightmare.
Yeah. It
And
was a
even
lot.
when we stepped into the internet email age, that same sort of thing still happened. You could email a package over. Sometimes it was too big. You had to do it via Dropbox or some other place.
Yeah.
But also just keeping track of, all right, who did I send that last form to? I now have an updated form. Or in addition to it, now we've done one more inspection or we did some repairs and trying to keep track so that when somebody submitted an offer and they signed off on the disclosures, did they really have the most
Yeah.
recent version of it, or did you have to go send them a new one and
Yeah.
opening up some contingency periods?
So origin of Disclosures IO was a young kid whose mother was a real estate agent, I think over in Sausalito or
I think
Tiburon.
so. Yeah.
And he was watching her tear her hair out on a daily basis, trying to figure out who has the most recent disclosure package, or I have 300 pages of disclosures. I need to make copies of them and makes, 9 sets of disclosure packages. And he was a young kid. He was technical, and he was like, I think I can figure something out here. And he did. And we were an early adopter at Dudum of Disclosures IO, and he actually came and presented to us, and it just seemed like the best thing ever.
So how it works is, as a listing agent, we upload to this site all of the disclosures, and then
Mhm.
when a buyer's agent says, "Hey, we're interested, can you send the disclosures over?" We send a link, and that person is able to log in and
Mhm.
look at all the disclosures, and then
Yeah.
they can confidentially share it with their client. So
Yep.
the listing agent doesn't get the client's name or email address, but can see how much that client is looking at the
Oh, we
disclosures.
can totally spy on them.
Exactly. And then also if we need to make a change, it automatically notifies everybody, all the buyers, agents, and their clients,
Mhm.
when there was a change and what document
Yes.
got changed.
Yeah. And
Um,
we can message. We can send messages.
exactly. And it's a way to keep track of who is seriously interested in the property because you could see, have they gone through and looked at all the disclosures? Have they read the important ones?
Yeah.
Okay, they're all important. They're all important, but
The
the
critical
ones,
ones.
yes, the ones that are property specific. So those are the most important ones to look at. And if they've looked at them all, so that when they write an offer, you can say, all right, this person knows what they're writing on, as opposed to somebody else who hasn't looked at them. They might write an offer. And when you're presenting the offers to your to the sellers of the property, you can indicate, we think this offer has done their due diligence, and it's more likely a sure thing, where offer B, who hasn't looked at anything, they've got a lot of discovery to keep doing, and it might be a little riskier to take that offer.
Yeah. Very
Um,
interesting, life changing, and tree saving.
yeah, there's the other thing that recently they've added up. I don't know how recent it is, but we can do DocuSign right out of there. So say we're on the buyer side and we have got an offer accepted, and now we need our client, the buyer to sign all the cover pages of all the reports, or sometimes actually sign within the disclosure if there's a signature line. We can take that directly from there to DocuSign and get it signed.
Yeah.
And that just one less step. You don't have to download the package and then upload it to DocuSign, which is super convenient.
One of my frustrations with technology is that there are all these different platforms and they don't often talk to each other. Like just DocuSign and Disclosures IO or HomeLight talk to each other, which is really great. But the other day I was working on one of our transactions and I had Zip Forms open, I had DocuSign open, and I had SkySlope open. And they need to talk to each other. And if I were younger and thought I could learn coding, I would sit down and figure out or design a platform where it was all integrated into one.
Yeah.
We need it.
Yeah, Sherry threw in a new one we hadn't talked about, Sky Slope, which isn't really consumer facing. It's really for brokers to supervise their agents and file transaction management. So not just our transaction coordinator, but our kind of supervisor over that process can go in
Oh,
and look at the files and see are all the signatures in the right place? Do you have all the documents? And then contact the agents to say, hey, you're missing these things. You need to go get them. Because it used to be file review meant here's our hard copy with a binder with all the documents, and you turn that over to your managing broker, and they would have to go
once a week.
yeah, once a week to look at all the files in your folders and transactions and make sure you've got it. And
There was a little thing down in the lower right corner of every form where your broker would sign off on it.
yeah, so most of you don't need to worry about that. That's pretty esoteric insider trading
Yeah.
jargon, but absolutely critical for our part of the business.
Yeah.
I think those are all the really big ones. There's lots of little small ones. Any other ones that are your favorites, technology things that we're using now that we didn't used to?
No, I sort of look to the future and wonder how our career or how our business is going to change. And I don't know, maybe we'll be having driverless cars that take us to our listings and or out to show houses. I don't know. What do you think the future holds?
I don't know. I think that something that's right on the bubble is automatic valuation modeling or
Yeah.
AVMs, and will that replace appraisals?
Yeah.
And in some circumstances they are, but
And it already has.
it already has, yeah. But I think that that's a good example of how the limitations of just the computerization and I'm not sure whether there's any artificial intelligence in that, but yeah, the AVM and the AI can't tell you what the human experience is walking into a house.
Right.
Whether it's just any house without anything in particular, or whether it's the feeling of a view, whether
Mhm.
that's of Mount Diablo or of some water or of the freeway, right?
Mhm.
All those things are going to feel differently. And it
Yeah.
might be able to say, oh, if you're within 100 feet of a freeway, we'll devalue the property by 5% or something.
Yeah.
It could do math like that, but it can't tell you what it feels like to be in that space. It may be that the architect has done a great job of the wall that faces the freeway is solid, doesn't have any windows, and all the
Yeah.
windows are facing Mount Diablo. And your feeling in that building is just this panoramic view. And you don't know until you're in the space. And can they tell it from photos? Maybe. I mean, that's where the kind of
Depends on how
cutting
they took
edge.
the photos.
Yeah, it's a cutting edge, but it's and then I think also just like IRL is always going in real life is always going to be the cornerstone of our business of
Yeah.
listening to our clients and hearing what they want and helping them not only find houses but understand, clarify for them. I mean, the can you go do all this research yourself and buy a house without an agent? Of course, but most people don't have the time or inclination or expertise enough to be able to do all that learning, and
Yeah.
have somebody help guide you through in real life is really crucial. So I love the tech. You love the tech. We're gonna lean into many of these tools as possible.
It
Uh,
makes our life easier and allows us to spend more time doing what's important, and that is being face to face with our clients.
yeah, yeah. All right. Any other thoughts before we sign off for the week?
I think that's it for now.
All right.
Go
Dorothy
out
was
and play with
right. Uh,
AI.
yeah. Dorothy was right. There's no place like home. We'll see you next week. Bye now.
Bye-bye.